Welcome to the Nutritious and Delicious podcast with me, Bethany. Our mission is to support busy parents all over the world to learn time management while taking care of your nutritional, physical, and mental health. After all, a healthy parent starts with a healthy family. So I'm really excited because I have Louise with me here today. And Louise is a certified life coach and NLP practitioner. A domestic abuse course facilitator, Louise is an intuitive eating counselor and body confidence coach. Her passion is helping women to have a better relationship with themselves, their bodies, and others. Louise is trauma informed, and her personal experience is there to support all the work that she does. So welcome, Louise.
Hello, Bethany.
I'm excited to have you on today because we have a really amazing topic here today to talk about, and it's called grounding yourself with a self-soothe box. So I actually would love for you to kind of share your story about how you came into the space of helping other women and why you are so passionate about this topic and grounding and self-soothing.
Okay, so I obviously, as you said, I facilitate a course for women survivors of domestic abuse. Years ago, I was in a domestically abusive relationship, and I was a hairdresser, and I injured my hand and then had to change my career. And I always thought I would go into maybe counselling, so I went into coaching. And then during lockdown, the pandemic, I was offered to do the course to facilitate the course for domestic abuse. So I took that up, and it's been amazing. With the intuitive eating, that's come from many years of disordered eating, I suppose, and having sort of a bad relationship around food and my body. So they all kind of link in with each other, and I think just to empower and support women is just my passion. I think just a lot of these things have just fallen into place, almost like it's meant to be. So yeah. And then trauma, obviously, through going through domestic abuse, and I had to give up hairdressing because I'd injured my hand, and having to change my career, that was quite traumatic, and just other life stuff. There's been plenty of times that I've had to pick up pieces of my own life, and finding ways to do that has been really not challenging, but to find the right avenues to go down, to find all the help that you need, to be able to offer that as a package for people that are going through similar things to what I've been through is very rewarding.
It's amazing that I think we don't give ourselves enough credit, I think, as women, for what we go through. And I think, like you said, I think when you go through the experience yourself, you have a lot more compassion and empathy and can kind of understand where women are at. And I think it's a great place to kind of start with women. And I would love for you to kind of share, what is the self-soothe box for women?
Okay, so the purpose of the self-soothe box, I always get the ladies who start the course to create one, and I also, when I do my intuitive eating workshops, I get them to create them then, because the purpose of the grounding techniques is to allow the person to step away from any negative thoughts or flashbacks that they're having. So we use the grounding techniques to decrease the intensity of the person's feelings. So when they're feeling just any kind of trauma, they then can go into the five senses, or the sort of the five senses. So you've got your visual, which is like what you can see, you've got your auditory, what you can hear, and the kinesthetic, which is feeling. So that could be touch, but it also could be the secondary or the meta feeling, that's like the emotional feelings, or that you get from the feelings of negativity. The smell that you get, or the taste that you can get from all these things that I've got in the box. So I do encourage people to kind of create their own boxes with stuff, generally recycling a box that you might have indoors. It might be a shoe box you can decorate, or it might be an old perfume box or something. I use this box that I got a nice journal in, which is nice. I like it because it's nice and slim, so when I open it, I can see all my stuff inside it. But and also it doesn't have to be expensive. It can be, if you want to. You can choose to go, if you're out in the shops, think, that would be nice, and pick up bits. But quite often we have things lying around our house that we could put in there that we maybe can get lots of these feelings and senses from.
What I love about it is that it keeps you present, and I think it's like this is the box of my favorite things kind of thing. Like it's something that is personal and unique to you. And I don't think I've ever come across that before with anybody actually having something that is very personalized to them. And it's such a creative and neat idea. Like, this is why I wanted to do the subject around this, because a lot of our women have been asking about trauma coaches and things like that. And I kind of was wondering, like, is there anything out there that isn't kind of just like you have to fit the mold of doing that? Like, this is more kind of created for each individual, which is absolutely lovely. What are some of the things that you would top suggest that anyone can put into a box?
Okay, well, for starters, I always start with, because obviously we're going with the sound, so I'd always start by putting some nice kind of relaxation music on, or, it might just be that you can hear the birds, turn volumes down around you. If you've got like the noise of telly, obviously if you've got children, maybe try and find a nice quiet space and, close the door. And then obviously going through the, so you've got the sounds, and then it's what you can see. It sort of be very pretty, or to your eyes, what you think is quite aesthetically pleasing on the eye. I love pinks, obviously. So it's all got very pretty stuff in it. And then, then you've got the smells. So I've got like a nice candle in here, so lovely. It looks pretty and it smells nice. And then you light that. So again, it's giving you the visual, it's giving you the smell. And then we've got, feelings. So I've, as I said before, I injured my hand as a hairdresser, so I get lots of pain in my hand. Right. And I found these lovely little, they're nice and fluffy, but what's inside is a nice, like one of these heat bags. So you click that and it warms up. So then you put it back in there. So you're getting the heat, you're getting the softness, and that's something that's very touchy. But also going back to the kinesthetics, the feelings, it's something that makes you feel good. So I would encourage people to have stuff that makes them feel good. Like you might have like, there's some mala beads in here, and I always have my journal, but also I also have some crystals as well. There's different crystals, whatever meaning you put to them, but like unconditional love and warmth and relaxation. So you've got some crystals there. And so making sure, but also to be mindful of something that might make you feel a bit triggered. So for some people, like obviously I work with domestic abuse, there's a lot of stuff going on with people's children. So they might think that putting a picture of their children in their box might be something that would comfort them. But if it's going to make you feel any kind, they might have had their children taken away. So I would encourage them to maybe have your children around, have them in pictures. But when it comes to this box, this is about you and what's going to make you feel good. Right. And if that's going to make you feel sad, then that might be something that just to be mindful about. Right. If you're opening up your box and then you pick up a picture of someone who's passed, or and it makes you feel like, then just don't have it in this space. Have it, there's a place for that, but just being mindful of that. So and then for the taste, there's like chocolates or little sweets that you can put in there. So it's just about kind of finding that little bit of time and that bit of space for you to come, light a candle. I always make sure I have nice soft lighting when I'm doing it. Like, as you can see, I've got all my fairy lights, and if it's nighttime, I'll turn the big lights off. As I say, I'll have a journal with some nice colourful pens that I can write in, some nice music, and just finding that little bit of peaceful time that's got some nice little things. I mean, I have like little face masks.
Oh, that's cute. I like that.
Yeah, and some, as I said, mala beads. Or if you're religious, you might want some like prayer beads. You can do it, sit and do a prayer, exactly. Or I put this little book in there that's like just the
I've seen that one before.
Yeah, the 4 agreements. But this is just the wisdom of. So it's just you can just look through it and come up with some, and also positivity. Oh, one other thing I have in here, and I always pull one. I love my angel cards, so I'll pull an angel card and then just put me in a better frame of mind. So definitely worth. So but just being mindful of the 5 senses that you are making sure that you're hitting, at least one of each, but lots of them overlap as well. So
I was thinking as you were talking, so I was kind of trying to think of my favorite things. So I think it's a good idea to give sort of different suggestions and stuff. When you said the feel one, so it made me think of like, I know some people use fidgets and stuff, or the popping, but then it made me think instantly of bubble wrap. And a lot of people like to kind of just press the bubble wrap, and it's almost like a stress reliever.
Yeah.
So even something as simple as like bubble wrap, you could have in the house or something like that. Candles is great because that I think is a really nice aroma smell. And typically if you're buying candles for yourself, you're usually buying the smells that you like. So that's great. And I usually have candles kind of going all the time. And I'm probably sort of doing this myself without even realizing it, using like the candles and even my angel cards, because I have a few boxes of those as well. And I think when we're sort of in a space of not knowing or afraid or anxious, sometimes like that's what I do is I pull out angel cards to kind of give me that like I guess that like confidence back, in that like what am I doing? Am I on the right path? Or I'm really scared or worried about this thing coming up, or something that maybe I'm dreaming about like often. Like I just kind of want to understand it myself. So pulling out angel cards, I guess, is another good way if you are someone who is spiritual. And I think the religious beads would work as well, or even a Bible. Like if somebody is very religious and wants to kind of connect with their higher power, things like that. Like I find just like reading those sayings or those, I guess what are they called? Like proverbs or verbs or something. What are they called? Just like the pieces in the, like the sayings and stuff in the Bible, like people that are reading those, it's kind of like it's something to hold on to, I guess. And even like I was just thinking of some of these as well. So like I've got a few like life cards and stuff. So these are just like even just like different quotes and stuff that you can sort of use. And even like on my desk, I have these like little happiness things. It's like these tiny little happiness cards, and it's almost just like pulling out one of those, one a day. It kind of gives you that like something to sort of live by, I guess, for your day, which would be really nice. The other thing I find for myself for some reason is painting my nails.
Yeah,
Like,
that's another thing. Keeping nail varnish in there.
yeah, and I think it's just because you have to slow down and be patient. And it's almost like I'm not patient, and I'm usually kind of on the go all the time. So I find when I do my nails, it's like it forces me to slow down, and I have to be patient and wait. So it's kind of putting me in this different element. So I think that's another good one to sort of help people sort of feel like they can kind of simmer down, and listening to things as well. And I think that's kind of on the same line as like doing a meditation or listening to affirmations, is that you kind of have to sit still and sort of like go slow and breathe and think about it. And it's not usually a natural state people are in if they are more prone to anxiety or trauma, things like that. So I love how all of these different things like kind of they're there to kind of ground you. Is there anything that you would say that like you said before about the pictures of the children, but what would be something common as well that people would not really or shouldn't put in their box, I guess, that would kind of maybe trigger them? Or like what have you seen kind of throughout what you've been teaching women?
Well, I don't actually think there's been much that people put in that is triggering. I can't actually think off the top of my head what
I would imagine a smell maybe or something.
Well, this is the thing as well. Yeah, it's what could be triggering it. Like, if you've got an ex-partner who is abusive towards you and they've got a certain aftershave, I definitely would avoid. Or something that has a memory of them. Like it could be a certain candle. You think, oh, that's pretty, I'll put that in there. But then you light it and then it's something that they bought you. It
reminds you. Because there's so much memory and smell and stuff like that as well. Which is really interesting. And I guess you said you do like a rewind technique. This is useful for like post-traumatic stress and phobias and stuff. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so I do a technique called, as you said, the rewind technique. And it's where I will get, and it normally takes 2 to 3 sessions, sometimes just one session, but 1 to 3 sessions. And it's designed so that the person who's being treated is not having to relive and like tell me or tell the therapist their trauma. So they just get in a nice, comfy, calm state, and I'll kind of guide them through to do that. And then they will watch what happened, but again, thinking about any smells that were there, any feelings, any kind of sounds, try and get as much information as they can, and they'll watch it on a screen, so they're
Right.
removed from it, and then we will I'll get them to jump into the scene and rewind themselves back, and it's a really powerful technique. Or what it does is it moves because if you're having flashbacks, it means it's stuck in your short-term memory.
Okay.
And what we need to do is get it to move to your long-term memory. So this technique helps you to process that, not so that you forget about the incident completely,
Right.
but it just makes it so that you can put it where it needs to be in order to then maybe talk to a therapist or deal with it. But there's also a technique that we do in NLP where it's like dissociate. It's not so much for trauma, but it is for just sad occasions or things that are bothering you or coming up for you that, what I call maybe little T's, because you've got big T's and little T's, big traumas, little traumas. It might just be that some things are not quite as big a trauma, but it's just bothering you. It's just something that's really irritating you. And we do a technique where we help you to disassociate. So again, it's using the senses of that scenario where you can you look at it and like maybe it's I'll say, is it in colour? And then they'll say yes. Well, what about if you put it in black and white and then you put it down? What about, is it bright or is it dark? Well, it's very bright. So what about if you tone it down? Or is it a picture? What about if you move it? What about if you speed it up? What about if you slow it down? And we just use all the submodalities or the more, deeper kind of senses and try and change them so that it can make a positive. So you disassociate yourself from the negative and associate yourself more with the positive around it. So that's quite a powerful technique that's used as well. So there's a few kind of things that you can do with, because there's trauma and then there's that's flashbacks, but then there's also just sadness on things that we call trauma that we've had throughout our lives.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I'm thinking of myself as well. Like obviously I'm a widow and I've been through some traumatic experience myself, but I can totally relate to the PTSD and all that people have flashbacks, dissociation, dreams, all that kind of stuff. So in terms of kind of like using myself as a guinea pig, I guess, when people are dissociating, is that like an involuntary thing? Because I know for myself, it's almost like I would wake up from a nap and I would relive something, and it was almost like I didn't feel like it was even me that was living it. It was really strange. It was like I was dissociated from my memory or something, and it kept happening for a really long time. It was always after having a nap, and I don't know, I looked it up, and it's something to do with, I guess, the REM sleep or something, and I was getting caught in some sort of memory, and I almost woke up not really understanding, like, am I in, like, which life am I in? I was almost like in a doorway, and it was like I couldn't make up which side I was on, and that went on for like a really long time. I think it was about 6 months to a year almost, and I started to understand, I think it was a stage, maybe dissociation. It took me about 20 minutes, I think, to come out of it. And it was quite scary at times because it was almost like I didn't know if I was like living in this real world or this matrix. It was kind of scary.
Yeah. So. And I think what happens with dreams as well is they're like your unfiltered thoughts. Yeah. So it's stuff that's there. And I would always say, if there's stuff like that, it's something that needs to be dealt with. It's kind of, get in touch with a therapist and work through it, because it's there and it's in the short-term memory, and it's kind of coming up when because maybe, I mean, I'm not saying this is exactly what was happening, but maybe when you're awake, you're conscious of it. So you're kind of consciously block it out, or maybe you're disassociating, or part of your, we have our 5 responses. We have the fight, flight, freeze, flop, and friend, which are our natural responses. So sometimes we freeze or flop, to try and avoid certain feelings and situations. But when you're asleep or, coming to being awake, your thoughts aren't, you're unable to control them thoughts. They just come, don't they? So
yeah, it was almost like a dream was kind of going into sort of my regular thoughts, and it was like I wasn't sort of aware, like, am I still dreaming, like what's going on? And it's quite as that was probably one of the scariest, I would say, for myself, dissociation, I guess. And like you said, it's probably sort of like my memory, I guess, in my dream taking over and doing something else. And then my critical thinking probably is trying to step in, going like, I don't know what's real here. So I did obviously go see a therapist about it. And I had, I think it was called EMDR around it. And it's very similar to what you're talking about, where you're moving over I think that you said the short-term memory to long-term memory.
To process it.
Yeah, and it seemed to work for me. And I've heard of other people kind of using that same method of moving it from a short-term memory kind of to a long-term memory. Do you find that when it goes to the long-term memory, is it a place where people can kind of look at it objectively and think, okay, well, I know that happened, but I'm not living in it kind of thing?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people's comments are, once they've gone through the processes, I just don't care about it anymore. It just doesn't bother me. You know,
Yeah.
I know it's there, I know it happened, but I'm just not that bothered, because they've looked at it and they've kind of they've disassociated themselves. They're not living in that nightmare anymore,
Right.
that reality of that thing that happened. You know, it's like if you imagine yourself, close your eyes and imagine yourself at a fairground and looking at a carousel. You visualize it differently, as if I said to you, well, now visualize yourself on the horse going around in the carousel. You can actually feel the movement.
Right.
So it's a similar sort of thing where you're kind of being disassociated from that situation, so that you're not reliving that feeling, you know, because with PTSD, when you have that memory, you're there, you're feeling it like you are going through the exactly same thing. All them feelings come up exactly how you was when you was there. And you know, there's other things you can do as well. You know, there's the EFT, obviously, like you said, EMDR, systematic experiencing. You know, there's lots of kind of different therapies out there that kind of do the similar sort of thing. But you know, it's about finding the right thing for you. And then, you know, I think sometimes as well what can be a bit of a problem, especially with the ladies that I work with, is money. You know, a lot of these procedures cost money that some people don't have. So there is some things that you can do. I mean, there's with bilateral movement, you know, this is just, it sounds like a fancy name, but it's literally just getting your right side and left side of your brains to work together. Right. So using your hands to do things like knitting, or I would say drumming, running, walking. If you're walking with a bit of, you're getting your right and left brain working together. So if there is something happening in your life that's quite traumatic, like you're going through abuse or going through something that's not nice for you to be going through at the moment, so you don't get that trauma stuck in the short-term memory and you're processing it, doing the bilateral movement helps that to not become stuck and something that you're struggling with down the line, if that makes sense.
Right.
So yeah, just making sure that there's things that you can do that don't necessarily cost lots of money.
That makes sense, because I found that exercise was something that I think it physically removed some stuff from my body. And when you said exercise, it made me instantly think of like a treadmill or elliptical, or even weights at the same time. And almost just like getting out what you're like, it's like pent up energy, like whether it's anger or fear or anxiety, and just putting that into exercise. And again, that could be something at home, like just doing jumping jacks and things like that. Again, like you said, money is obviously an issue. So if you're exercising at home, that could be something like just moving your body around, getting that anxiety or anger kind of out in a physical way. And it was interesting what you were saying before. It's almost like you're telling this, like when you're talking about the fairground thing, you were telling a story versus being in the story. And I noticed that was the emotional difference when I sort of, I guess, got that treatment around it as well, was instead of sort of reliving something and feeling like you are the character and you're in the present moment, but there's nothing, I guess, there that's the same thing, then it's almost like you're reliving it by like telling the story instead. And so it's almost like you're not part of the character, you're talking about another character still, if that kind of makes sense to some of the people. But I love how you've got this grounding technique with the self-soothe box at home, because like I said, like it's something that you can instantly do. You probably have lots of items around your house already that you can put in there that make you feel really good. And even just like, that's probably why people enjoy like a warm fuzzy blanket, even, because it's a good sensation feeling. It feels like you're taken care of. You're being wrapped up, and whether you live on your own or not, like that's another good way of sort of doing that as well for yourself. So I love this. What's one of your favorite things that you would say that you have in your box?
I don't know. I think that's a really hard thing for me to actually pinpoint on there.
Yeah.
But I just love to get my music on. I love to journal. So just getting the candle lit, putting the music on. I'll pour myself an angel card, put maybe some hand cream on, and and then I'll just journal. Really, I just like looking at all the stuff, or I might meditate. If I feel like I don't want to journal, I'll meditate. Might hold my mala beads. But yeah, I think that's kind of the go-to, because it's quick as well. Sometimes there's obviously this face pack, there's painting your nails, there's taking that time out. But if I just haven't got a lot of time, because I'm a busy mom, maybe one of my sessions have been quite deep and I just need to release something, I might just pull a card and just journal and just kind of get it out there, brain dump from, I always say it's better out than in, just get it out onto paper and then just release it, and then I can kind of get on with my evening or my day or whatever it is, and just kind of just get over that, whatever that has happened, I can kind of quickly release it as quick as possible sometimes. Because when you're a busy mum, you've got to just get on with it, haven't you?
Yeah. So. I love that. Like, just even like I have hand lotion sitting on my desk right now, like Victoria's Secret stuff. So it smells really nice, like perfume. But even just stuff like that, like putting some hand lotion on, maybe putting a few sweets in your mouth, and actually it's probably something I should get on my desk too, is like a stress ball or some bubble pop or something, just to kind of like move and fidget your hands, and it's kind of that stress ball release kind of thing. So that's something really quick and easy you can do within 5 minutes. If you said you've had kind of a stressful call, you've had to talk to the bank or deal with your kids, or a call that's been quite draining, things like that. So that's amazing. I love that. So it was a pleasure having you on, Louise. I'm so grateful and thankful that you came on and used me as the guinea pig here today. So how can our viewers actually connect with you to learn more about what you offer?
Well, I have my website is louisebryant.coach, and if you go on there, obviously my email address is also info@louisebryant.coach. So it's just my name, and you can find me by looking up my name easily.
Lovely. So. I'll put it in the show notes for everybody, so that way they can go to her website, and if they want to contact you as well, they can email you. So once again, thank you so much for coming on. It was a real pleasure today, Louise.
All right. Thank you for having me, Bethany. It was lovely to be here.
Mm-hmm.